Welcome to Grawlix Nights, the Grawlix Podcast live show. I'm Randy.
And I'm Jesse.
How's it going, everybody? By everybody, oh, there's people here. Yeah, so we're back. We're here. Melanie is somewhere. We don't know where. She's doing Melanie things. She's on Melanie time. Savannah likes that intro the best. It is the best of all intros on the planet. I don't know where Melanie is. She's MIA. But I think her phone's probably turned off.
Also, if an intro doesn't have a saxophone solo, is it really an intro?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I don't think it is. I don't know who would do a podcast without a saxophone solo intro, which is really going to confuse people that only ever listen to the audio replays because I don't have the sax in the audio version of
that's right.
this. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's not really the show. The live stream is the show.
Right. Because if you are here for the audio listeners, just so you know, if you're here for the original broadcast, you get to derail the show in real time or like a 7-second delay.
Yeah. But you'll derail it really, really well.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to do much. I feel like Randy just froze on me. Is he frozen for just me, or is he frozen for everyone?
Glitched. Who's glitched? Is it me or is it you?
I don't know.
Okay. Wow.
You in the chat, tell us who was glitched. I tried to keep going. Randy, I assume, tried to keep going.
Right.
Uh-oh. You slammed that door a little too hard, Randy.
I think I did. Well, and it gave like a Wi-Fi thing. Like if you're connected to Wi-Fi, try plugging into the router. Except I'm not. I don't. My computer's not connected to Wi-Fi.
You mainline. Yeah. And you're frozen again. But that's a great picture, folks. You screenshot that. Send it to us later. Just to let you know what we're going to do tonight, which Randy will probably do once he unfreezes. We're going to talk a little bit of nerd news. We'll react at some news that we compiled. I'm not saying that we compiled it right before the show. Actually, I am saying that. Yeah, we compiled it right before the show. And that's what we're going to do tonight. It's going to be a pretty standard Grawlix Nights. Ah, man, now it's just me. Okay, so this is where it gets weird, friends. I haven't done a solo show in a long time, but we'll just jump right in. I think just in case Randy can jump back in here, I will talk a little bit about what I've been watching and what I've been up to. So I'll go into recent viewing, and so for me, I had a busy week, and the main thing that I watched was Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 3, which it was going to be tough to follow up episode 2. Episode 2 was really well handled, but episode 3 didn't disappoint very much. We got a full-blown Baron Zemo. We got like a dance scene in a club in Madripoor. So there's all sorts of crazy Marvel Cinematic Universe tie-ins with stuff that's going to happen in X-Men and that kind of thing. So I don't know. Did anybody else watch that? And again, we're on a delay. So of course I ask like I'm going to get an immediate response, but there's no way that I'm going to get an immediate response. But they brought back the Baron Zemo character. I thought he was interesting. I thought that he was a little more fleshed out. Like suddenly we find out that he's royalty. He's got all these crazy cars. He's got money and his own jet. And spoilers, they just totally drop like almost at the end of the episode. They're just like, so Sokovia is basically cannibalized. It basically doesn't exist. Their neighbors just ate it up. Kind of thing. It's like, and then he's like throwing shade at Bucky and Sam, where he's like, have either of you visited the memorial, and and of course they hadn't, but they also ended on another epic cliffhanger. So yeah. Oh, was that the bar? I wondered. I was like, this feels like an Easter egg I'm not getting. But I did know that Patch and Mr. Fix-It frequented Madripoor, and so I was nudging my wife. I was like, hey, this is a big time X-Men reference. Nudge, nudge. So that was super fun. That's the main new thing that I've been watching. The other things that I've watched are not necessarily Grawlix appropriate, in that we try not to get super political on the show, even though some of our news tonight might get a little political. The other thing that I've been watching, Randy's back. I'm just going into things I've been watching. And the one thing that I've been watching that's kind of political is the HBO QAnon documentary. Okay. Which I only watched like the first 2 episodes, and it's just bizarre. Like, this is the real world, and it feels like it's not. Like when we talk about that level of politics, the things that people will believe, it's just.
For quite a while, there's been several moments where I'm like, it's like someone is writing reality, and they're trying to write it as like
satire. As badly as possible.
They're trying to write it as satire, and they suck. They're not. They're hacks. They're not good at it, and that's the world we live in. It's a poorly written, not quite satire, but trying really hard to be.
Yeah, like, okay, so I'm gonna write a story, and there's gonna be this mass pandemic, but the government is gonna be actively bad at saving people, and when they have opportunities to help people, they'll just fight. Like, no, that's real. That's how the world works.
Right.
I guess.
There's also something, I don't remember what it was, and whatever it was, I'm not going to bring it up because we don't get that political. But there was something recently where I'm like, there's a lot of, like, you really are not bothered by all these things that you probably should be bothered by, that you have to go and like believe or make up or like just get riled up about the silliest, most nonsensical things. It's like there's so much more you could get upset about that's valid.
Right.
Hey, I see someone coming in somebody's in our green room. Hi.
Hey-o. Now it's a show.
Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay, do you want me to remove you until you're ready?
Well, I am ready now.
Okay. You're wonderful. The show didn't really start till you got here.
It didn't feel complete. Even the internet said so. It was like, Randy, get out of here. We're not ready for a real show. Melanie's not even here.
I got glitched out of existence.
Oh, good.
No, I mean I'll be back in 5 years.
Ooh, that's a real blip.
The consistency in which everyone in the MCU refers to certain things by a certain title is a little ridiculous. I get it, but it's a little ridiculous that everyone calls it the blip.
They should almost be like, at this point, 6 years ago. Because, like, come on, there was a whole year of pandemic. We didn't get new Marvel stuff.
Right, like, oh, that is something I was weirdly thinking about earlier today. I was like, dude, imagine if Endgame had been like X amount of months or up to a year later. Like, what a mess that would have been for Disney and Marvel.
They would have been like, oh, I don't think we can do this.
Not only would they have ran into the theater issue, like, yeah, what a Infinity War especially. Like, you know what? Maybe let's hold off on this whole Infinity War thing. Half the population just goes.
Yeah, what 3 million people a day, or maybe it wasn't quite that, but like, globally, maybe, I don't know.
It was a lot.
More than a 9/11 a day dying of something.
I wish
that could have been prevented.
I wish every
Star-Lord hadn't gotten involved.
I wish every news channel, every channel that claims it's a news channel, would have put it in those kind of terms. Like, There was a 9/11. There was 2, Vietnam's worth of people dead today, or whatever the numbers were.
Right.
Every day.
Mm.
Because I think
every day
it would have had more impact on some people.
Yeah.
2020, the year of Thanos. Thanos ain't even gonna claim it.
No.
It's like, I'm more efficient.
At least he did it for love.
Right.
At least originally. I don't know. I don't know what he did it for in the movies. I'm still trying to puzzle that out.
So everybody could have more stuff.
Oh, that's right. Which ties into my review of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That's what they're doing. They remember when everybody had more stuff and they liked it.
Right. Have you talked about episode 3 yet?
Yes, that's what I was talking about while you were gone.
That's actually a good pick because me and Melanie stopped watching it.
You stopped? Oh, you decided to stop watching it, or you just like neglected a week?
It just wasn't. We were watching the episode, and I don't remember what it was like. I was actively doing other things in the house. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna go. Oh, I need to find this microphone for Melanie later. I'm gonna go do this. And then at a certain point, I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, I'm not watching this. So we just like, eh.
Yeah.
It was fine, but like, it really was getting into the weeds of characters that like, okay, I remember. Then this lady shows up. It's like, I know she's a person.
Sharon Carter?
Right, sure. She's not Peggy, right?
Okay,
she's not Peggy. She don't matter.
No. Oh. She only had the most controversial kiss in Civil War.
Did she? Who'd she kiss?
Cap. Right after the funeral of Peggy.
Oh.
Yeah. And then fast forward 2 movies and he's like leaving it all behind for Peggy.
Cap's nasty. I was about to say she's nasty, but it's not really her fault. Cap's nasty.
No. I wonder if he came clean. Like, yeah, I totally kissed your niece.
No, he didn't. You know he didn't.
We can't slow dance. We can't slow dance to 20s music.
That's so funny. Like, yeah, okay, I guess you're right. I kind of vaguely remember that. It's like, what? Yeah. Big Ant-Man? Airport scene? I don't remember anything else from that movie.
Well, I mean, that's the kind of the thing about this episode is it's like the first chance that we get to reconnect with that character post all of that, and she's like legitimately, or she has legitimate claims to be upset because it's basically like, I stole the wings for Falcon and I stole the shield for Cap, and y'all have been doing your Avengers thing, and basically I've been just out. I've just been out. Nobody cares about Sharon.
I mean, I put it up on the screen. I don't really we don't have to get into it. That's super dark and depressing. But yeah, I mean, the Vietnam comment I just threw out, I couldn't remember the specifics, but there were days where it's like, we surpassed this war in a day. Yeah. And we surpassed this war in a day. So yeah, it was a lot of people, Savannah, for sure. I guess that's maybe part of the issue is like, I don't know. It was a little silly, which is fine, but it was characters that I had either forgotten about or just apparently was not super intrigued by to begin with. So
Baron Zemo and some of the Thunderbolts references. Did you get it? Did you?
No.
See the purple mask was a huge pop for me, but I had the Secret Wars figures when I was a kid, and Baron Zemo was like one of them. So I was like, purple mask. And then they go to Madripoor. We were talking about it in the chat a little bit. That's where Joe Fixit, the Gray Hulk, he would frequent the bar in Madripoor, as did Patch, which was actually Wolverine. And like, those are the 2 worst disguises in Marvel history. Like, okay, it's Wolverine with an eye patch and a white suit. Oh,
right.
Gee, it's the Hulk in a pinstripe suit and a fedora. Gee, I wonder who they are. They're undercover. Quote.
Paul says Baron Zemo is the ultimate anti-villain.
Yeah, I mean, He's clever. I mean, I was a little disappointed when I watched Civil War because Baron Zemo was like one of the ultimate foils to Captain America. He's like if Red Skull's here, Baron Zemo's like there. Like they're
all right, and he just kind of seemed like a dude.
Yeah, he was. And I was like, so this was a little bit of course correct there in that is like, wait, you're rich? Dude, I'm a baron. I was royalty until you blew up my whole country.
Yeah, I mean, in that respect, it kind of plays into, and I'm sure this is a bit of Melanie's deal with it too, is I appreciate, it's like when we were talking about WandaVision. I appreciate all these super deep cut comic book Easter eggs because it shows that like the creators are fans, or at least felt enough obligation to do some real homework about it. But I don't have the Marvel comic lore. And in some respects, I feel like this territory where they're at now with the characters they're in this show specifically, I'm kind of coming to it as like a general audience pleb, you know, just I remember Ant-Man, you know. I don't have the Marvel Comics history lore on especially the Captain America side of things at all. So some of it's just lost on me.
And it's very much like WandaVision in that they are throwing some pretty deep cut Easter eggs out there. Like when they go to the bar and it's the Smiling Tiger, like that's a character in the Thunderbolts at one point or another. Like he's part of the Thunderbolts team. And if you don't remember Thunderbolts was like, it was brilliant. It was this new team that came out of nowhere. And it was like Citizen V or whatever. And so all these like heroes we'd never heard of. And it's like, what is this? And it was compelling. It was good story writing. And then it came out that the whole thing was Baron Zemo in disguise. Citizen V was Baron Zemo and his team, all villains in disguise, pretending to be heroes.
Nice.
And then later on, it became more of a Suicide Squad kind of thing where they made villains become heroes. So like Venom was on the Thunderbolts team. I think they had Luke Cage headed up at one point to be the government liaison kind of in charge guy. So it basically became Suicide Squad, but originally it was all a ruse.
Yeah, I didn't know any of that. And I think maybe part of the problem for me personally is, I mean, action's fun, but it doesn't grab me the way that other things do. And so not knowing any of that, to me, it's just a bunch of action, like blowing shit up, running, blowing stuff up, running, screaming, losing people, finding people that I don't know,
Right.
And so it drags for me. It doesn't have that appeal, especially if it were characters I found more interesting or gave a crap about. Maybe it'd be better. These aren't those characters for me. I'm sorry, but it's true.
They even like make a meta reference to how actiony it is in this episode because what was it where Sam's like, "You went left," it's like it's in every action movie.
I will pick it up again. I think
we will.
Probably.
We have to.
What?
We have to.
Okay, then I'll clarify. We will pick it up again. Yeah, I don't know. I think I was just not. And it wasn't even Melanie. It was me. I was like, at some point, I just stop. All right, nope, I'm not interested in this right now. So
it's a different flavor. I totally get that. Like it's not as it's not the same visual flavor as like Vision. WandaVision was, right?
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I think it definitely, and you could tell from the trailer. And I recall the showrunners or whoever producer of the show even saying the storytelling is kind of the antithesis of the storytelling in WandaVision. It's just the total opposite of what's going on there. And I think WandaVision, even Vision on his own, is an interesting enough character, and I really like Paul Bettany. I've heard his last name said a million different ways at this point. Wanda's okay. I've really never been fan of Scarlet Witch in the movies because I was like, okay, sure, she's here now, and she does the finger thing, which annoys me. But the concepts and the ideas just that the show was based on its own was intriguing enough for me. And this is like not bad concepts and ideas, but it's much more like, I don't know. There's political intrigue kind of, but really not that deep, and action standard. Yeah. Is it not missionaries?
Sam. Oh, so here's a nugget, and I think maybe Paul will appreciate this. Sam is starting to pull. Oh no, I forgot the character's name. Doctor Who. He's not going to let that happen.
Oh, you mean the character that we're like he's forgettable. He's
so forgettable that he's left, and I've already forgotten him. Ryan. Yeah, Sam is pulling a Ryan now. He's just like, listen, Sarah, I'm going to walk into this bank, and I'm not going to let that happen. You're not going to sell the boat. I'm not going to let that happen. And then he runs into Sharon Carter, and he's like, hey, you can't come back into the United States because of what you did in Civil War. I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to make it right. I'm going to get you a pardon. He's Ryan.
He's not going to do
Come on, Sam. You're better than that. You should have never gave up the shield.
Spoilers for the end of Falcon and Captain Winter Soldier.
Bucky Cap. Yep. Bucky Cap and the Falcon.
Falcon learns how to ride a bike without falling down.
Oh no, man! He has a little help from his friend Red Wing. Red Wing is scouting the terrain, making sure.
I do remember another thing that was kind of like pushing us away from the episode. I know Melanie for sure was. They're like, just play it cool. We're undercover. You're this guy to Falcon. You're this guy.
Yeah.
And he was just terrible. And it's like, oh man, just stop it.
Yeah, like I know they're doing some stuff for a comedic effect, but I'm like, so basically they would be dead right now if we had to rely on people not noticing that look he just had on his face, because we all did.
Right. And if anyone knows Smiling Tiger, then it's like, it's clear you're not Smiling Tiger.
Mm-hmm.
I know Smiling Tiger. You, sir. I know Smiling Tiger.
No Smiling Tiger.
Mm-hmm.
Have you watched anything else? I guess that was our Falcon and Winter Soldier talk.
Hey, there we go. Yeah.
But
I did finally, like, I was late to the party last week. I think you already talked about. No, we talked about it last week. Or did we have a show last week? I don't even remember. But if we did, we would have probably talked about Godzilla versus Kong. And I did watch that.
Right. I remember distinctly off mic when we weren't streaming last week, talking to you and Melanie about my thoughts on it. So I'm very curious as to your thoughts. First, though, Maddie D, what's going on? He says, and then Scarlet Witch shows up in a sunlight shot. And then Falcon can start riding his bike. Yep.
She altered the world so that he could ride a bike.
Also, Paul says he's been watching Mayans season 3 on FX. I've never watched Mayans. Okay. So how about them Kongzillas?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I don't know what else to add to what you had to say. I will basically co-sign most of the things that you said,
really?
As far as like, it's dumb fun. 11. She was kind of annoying. Like that whole inclusion of that storyline. I'm sure there was a thread. She didn't necessarily have to be there. Like nothing that she actually knew impacted anything. But I'm sure like that group maybe impacted something. I don't know.
They're kind of just exposition group
and comedic timing, or comedy relief. That's what they were. apparently, being a conspiracy theorist now today also means you also have a podcast, which may or may not be fair. It's probably true, but
right.
It was like, hey, I'm a podcast. I'm a podcaster.
Maybe it's just because I am drowning in podcasts. I'm so immersed in podcasts that the podcaster stereotype, which still feels fairly recent in movies anyway,
right,
is so played out. And like, dude, everyone has a podcast. It's not just conspiracy nuts,
right,
or quirky true crime podcasters. Like the different niches, there's so many. Everyone's got a podcast. So that being maybe, I guess, just where this character come from, it seemed whatever. It's a little played out. I think sorry. I think his character sucked. And they only existed so that we could see things that were in places in the world that Kong and Zilla wasn't, or the group of people that hung around Kong or Zilla, mainly Kong.
Okay, Paul's got a good point here in the chat. He says that they were Team Godzilla. I was like, okay, but it wasn't. I don't know that it was super obvious enough for me.
No, you're right. They were, but they weren't. They still weren't really necessary, or all of them weren't necessary.
Right.
It could just be the one guy. The fact that it's her and her. Okay, so you see now what I'm talking about with her dad. If you remember of King of the Monsters, her dad was arguably the main character, other than the monsters. Right. He's there in this movie. Why? Just randomly? Like he has nothing to do with the plot at all.
Right.
They feel like obligation, like they're written in to a script that was done before King of the Monsters.
Right. It's like we've established a precedent, like they're authorities, so you automatically get in.
The villain that the last movie ended on a cliffhanger with, like he took whatever skull, he's not even in the movie anywhere.
Right.
I didn't watch any of the movies, but I just wanted to comment on the podcast thing because I was thinking about it, and that's not a new thing though, because even like back in the day in movies, if there was some crazy guy or uncle or whatever, he would have like a ham radio or something. He was always broadcasting something somehow, or recording it or something like that, because that's your exposition to all the crazy stuff, and it's introduced as something crazy because of the weird conspiracy guy.
You're absolutely right. That's funny. Okay, so is that going to be the trope? Is the podcaster the new crazy ham radio guy?
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Which is funny because we know at least one ham radio guy who is also a podcaster.
Yeah.
Does he do a podcast about ham radios?
At one point, and he brings up his ham radio.
He did a lot.
If he's listening, he knows he's number one trending.
He used to do worldwide. a survivalist podcast. I mean, right there.
He's been on this podcast, so.
Yep. It's Brandon. We're just gonna say hi, Brandon.
Hi, Brandon. We love you.
I hope you're doing well. Let's see who said it. Paul said they should have had a callback to her mom's machine, and her story would have been more laid out, right? His next one's not really spoilery, but the thing is, Godzilla didn't really have a heel turn. But that again feels like it's a little spoilery with where it's going. The whole premise behind the movie Frequency.
Wait, is Godzilla actually listening to messages from his dead dad in the past?
And Matt asked, does he do a ham radio about podcasts?
Oh, you know what? I wouldn't put it past Brandon. Brandon is like, he's pretty next level when it comes to this stuff. So
honestly, that is next level thinking.
Yeah.
Do Godzillas lay eggs?
Only in a radioactive wonderland.
Okay, I was just wondering.
So where was that in King of Monsters? Was that like not quite Hollow Earth? That's like Hollow Earth's vacation home?
I
like
thought it
summer
was gonna
vacation home?
I thought that it was going to be like Atlantis, but they never dropped Atlantis. I was like, really? That seems like what you're doing. I guess not. I'm the a-hole for thinking there was only one buried city at sea. You're right. It's no name undersea world. Yeah. There was a
bring your Geiger counter and a lot of sunblock, I guess.
There was if you guys watch Honest Trailers, I think they dropped the Godzilla vs Kong one like yesterday or the day before.
I didn't get a chance to watch it, but it's on my notifications, so I'm eager to watch it because they're usually pretty good at that.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm consistently surprised at how people are very like one way or I guess middle of the road also, but like I'm surprised at how many people like didn't like it for reasons where I'm like, yeah, but that's why I do like it, because they tried doing the serious human drama and it was just boring because apparently you can't write a compelling human story with interesting characters and Godzilla.
Sure you can. They just did it like 80 years ago or something.
No, you're right. It was in the 50s or whatever. The first one, 54 maybe.
So I was basically just along for the ride, but so since we're getting into it, I got to talk about the one thing that kind of took me out of it, and I mentioned it to you guys in the chat. It's not that big of a deal, but it's also like, what? So big spoilers if you, because I don't think this has been in the trailers. Mechagodzilla.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah. So Mechagodzilla is a big deal, and how do they control Mechagodzilla with Monster Zero with Ghidra?
I loved. Okay, so here's the thing with like, yes, all the human story and the plot of these are nonsense, and I was excited for the 2014 Godzilla. I was like, they're gonna do it seriously, and then they did it, and it's like that was so boring.
Right.
And not that
that's all fair.
Not that you can't do it, but like they're not good at it. So right. If you gotta be goofy, keep it to a minimum, and that's why I like this movie. As I said, whenever, when we were floating around in the void. The weird kaiju tech, like the weird concept of like glowing light wires hooked into a big bone skull,
and then they sit inside of it.
It was like, what? This is weird.
Like, even if that made any kind of sense, even if like okay, so basically we're like, it would be the brain, wouldn't it? It wouldn't be the skull. Would it?
I think.
And why would you have to be inside of the skull?
Yeah, no.
And did they have all three?
It's like, so weird.
Was there a different driver in every skull? Because I only it was like we saw the one guy who's the main pilot, and there must have been maybe two other people, or is it just one Ghidra skull?
It was just one. No, it was just because that we are. Yeah. Okay. Definitely into spoilers and a little off track, but
yeah, sorry, but I just couldn't.
That's my assumption is that's the head of the Ghidra that the bad guy from King of the Monsters sold or had at the end, and he was going to sell off to auction to somebody. That's where that went.
Oh,
I think that was my assumption. It's like, so yeah, that guy just sold it and then retired. You know, I mean, I thought he was an extremist, but I guess you could just buy him off. That's fine.
Yes, Savannah, I do understand why you may have some questions, because I know what this stuff is talking about, and I still don't understand it.
Oh, Paul said the toys spoiled Mechagodzilla. Surprisingly, I wasn't spoiled on it going into it.
Well, there were so many toys that like they basically did all the monsters again. So I didn't really think about it.
Right.
It would have been a real shame for them to not do a Mechagodzilla before this was over, though. And since it's coming up so soon, it's like, okay, yeah, this is the movie to do it in. And oddly enough, I usually hate it when there's like more than two. You know, like, I mean, they ruined Spider-Man 3 with more than one bad guy. They usually don't do it well, with a few exceptions. And that could have happened to this movie. I didn't really feel that way about this movie. Like, Mechagodzilla didn't throw too much of a fly in the ointment for me. Like, it was still Kong and Godzilla to me.
I was excited when when it's like there's the initial earlier on kind of reveal. It's like, oh, they're doing that. Okay, cool. And then the throwing another monster into the mix. Yeah, those trains. I like
there they are. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't even notice them until you point them out. I'm like,
well, no, you live there.
The trains were in the movie.
You hear it all the
this
time.
is a weird metaphor, but yeah.
But because it's the kind of thing where it's like, who's gonna win, Godzilla or Kong? And it's like, I mean, arguably, neither. They're not gonna have a definitive winner. It's, you know, Marvel versus DC or DC versus Mortal Kombat.
Team Cap versus Iron Man.
Neither's gonna win. They're either gonna be like some type of draw or stalemate, or they're gonna have to band together against a greater foe. Or just another foe. It doesn't have to be great.
Or they'll end the movie without resolving anything.
I will say, Melanie, who do you think should have won though, between those two?
Between Godzilla and
Kong, yeah.
Kong? In any, well,
a Godzilla-sized Kong like they have in this movie. I know you get the size thing is an issue.
Right. And Godzilla breathes fire or lightning or something, right?
Like nuclear laser blasts of some kind.
And he has claws and sharp teeth. I'm going to go with Godzilla.
Yeah. I mean, when I think about it, yeah, it's going to be Godzilla. And you know what? I think the movie's like, yeah, it's going to be Godzilla. He beat the crap out of Kong.
A couple times.
He murdered him. They had to jumpstart his heart. Kong was dead. Godzilla won.
That was great. That was great. I was like, oh, there it is. Yeah. Just put a electric line in his mouth and he's ready to do some jumping jacks, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Paul says Kong, he has thumbs. Well, I mean, okay, so that is a thing. Like, Kong does have an advantage in that he is much more humanoid. If he was smarter, I mean, he does have a weapon he can use.
I was gonna say, if you give him a semi-automatic, sure. Then I guess maybe you could take out Godzilla.
Too soon, Melanie.
But
it's always too soon. We live in America. You can't talk about guns without it being too soon.
I know.
That's true.
But
there's probably one happening right now.
Like
there was one today. There was one today.
Was there? I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
In an office park in Texas, I believe.
Yeah. If you took something like an alligator or a Komodo dragon and gave it the ability to stand upright and shoot anything out of its mouth, it would probably kill people unless we had a bunch of guns. So I'm going to just go, the same would go for Kong.
Okay.
Argue. You can't, because my logic is sound.
I agree. I am also distracted by some great comments. Like, Mothra, why did you say that name?
Why did you say that name?
Mothra. Yeah. Reconstruction contractors are the real winners when these two fight. That reminds me of the first Spider-Man, the first current modern Spider-Man movie.
That makes me think of conspiracy theories. Maybe they're releasing these monsters so that they can keep pumping money into the Reconstruction industrial complex.
The way the last two movies have gone, that's where they have to go with the plot. Like, the conspiracies are just going to get deeper. There's a hollow earth inside of the hollow earth. That's why there's also a sun there. And
I want to know who built that throne for Kong to sit in.
That was okay. That was one of the biggest question marks when I was watching it. Oddly, because he got there, I'm like, wait, is this where the Kongs lived? Because that's handcrafted architecture. That is like, those are human design style columns and stuff. Like, the Kongs were that smart? What's King Kong doing, man?
Also, he let that go pretty fast. They were like, hey, you should follow us. This might be where your family is. And then he gets there and he's like, well, I got an axe.
Okay, I never watched Dresden Files, but Maddie D says if there's anything I learned from the Dresden Files, it's never give Octocons guns. And I'm not going to repeat this one, but it is, I enjoy it. Okay, what else?
Oh, you know, the reconstruction contractors also ties back to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because they are a real problem in the post-blip world.
Hey,
Really?
Falcon and the Winter Soldier referenced the MonsterVerse. It's all the same. It's all confirmed.
The same. Yeah, you know,
Crossover cinematic universe crossover confirmed.
Restore the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah,
the MMCU.
Yeah. Oh man, I was last week or whenever it was. I was like, where could they possibly go next? To the MCU. That's where they go next.
2022. Kong versus Godzilla versus Fing Fang Boom.
Right. Right. What now? Hey, Melanie.
Yes.
What if?
How are you doing today?
Okay.
I feel like we didn't really get to catch up with you. You've been watching some stuff, but you maybe just rewatching some stuff? I know you watched some stuff with Gabe.
Yeah, I just rewatched Invincible with him. I don't think I really watched anything else.
Someone is sawing a log in the background, Savannah. That's what's going on.
All right.
They're building a house. I'm not
complaining.
I just want to clarify. You're close, but wrong.
It is actually my dog. He had a tooth extracted 2 days ago, and so he had to be intubated, and so he's got a pretty wicked cough. He's not throwing up. He's just hacking pretty bad.
Yeah, but now you know what it would sound like if dogs got hairballs.
Or built a house.
That is what it would sound like if a dog got a hairball. You're right. No, it's fine. He's our guest. Oh, sweet baby angel, she says.
Yep. Because that's what we say to all animals. Because that's what they are.
When it comes to our animals, they become an active participant in the show. You know, I mean, Bonsai, Echo, Torix.
Oh my God! Paul says he's getting a lot of teeth extracted in the morning.
Ooh, I don't recommend that.
No.
1 out of 5 stars.
Oh man, there was a. Listen, if they can't do it a bunch at once, don't schedule a bunch of consecutive ones. Like,
oh God, that
within
would be
a
awful,
2-week period. By the 3rd visit, I was like, we have to stop. I can't hold my jaw open anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've only ever had one tooth pulled, and it sounded crunchy, but other than I don't know, it wasn't that bad to me.
Well, the first one I ever had extracted was fine, no problem, and so I was like, okay, it'll be fine. And then I went in and had the others pulled, not so good. So wisdom teeth in particular in this case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mine was a wisdom tooth.
The others were impacted and sideways and whatnot. And that was bad.
That's probably why I have an easy time, because they told me I could fit another set of teeth in my mouth. Apparently, I have a big mouth. I don't know.
They weren't just being rude.
No, they weren't being rude.
I know. I mean, this is still way off in the weeds, but it's okay. Yeah, no. Apparently, through my 20s, I had gotten my wisdom teeth in, and they should have gotten taken out, and I didn't. So they had compacted a bunch of my teeth, and so by the time I got into the dentist to take care of things, I needed a bunch of stuff removed because it had cracked a bunch. So I'm not just a hillbilly, I swear.
Yeah, sure. No, I'm just kidding.
A little bit, okay.
Yeah.
That kind of pain is, it's next level.
Mm-hmm.
I was really disappointed because they were like, "What have you been doing for the pain?" And I'm like, "I've been like murdering my liver with ibuprofen." And they were like, "Okay, we'll just keep doing that." And I didn't.
Yeah, they don't even blink at that. They were like, "Yeah, ibuprofen. Yeah, kill your liver. What's that
Yeah.
for?"
Yeah.
I get their. It's gonna make me sound bad to put it this way. I get their stinginess with painkillers and stuff, and yeah, you don't want to just dole those out to anybody. But I remember having so much tooth pain. I was like, I'm taking, this amount of ibuprofen every day, and it's not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, and like,
Yeah.
nope.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It's
If I
fine
was
though.
rich, this would be different.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to get off the painkillers.
Right.
Yeah. That's okay.
Impact.
I found out later that painkillers make me sick, so
Yeah,
I'll stick with my liver murderers.
Yes, I really did just do a thing about complaining about them not giving me painkillers.
Truth to be told, this is the show now.
Impact, the new segment about dental procedures. That's via Matt D, by the way.
Yeah. Fun fact, since we're on this ridiculous rabbit hole, I worked in a dental lab for a couple of summers. Yeah.
Did you?
My uncle created crowns, and so I would go on delivery runs with him, and I would create molds for teeth. Now they can do all of that. They have like 3D printers that can create the crown in-house. But back then you had to like take an impression of what was the top of the tooth after they had kind of filed it down, and then they would build the crown around that impression that you sent to the lab. And so I would create a plaster mold of the impression, and then they would create a crown that would fit on top of the plaster.
Is that what inspired you to get into art?
No, it was the most boring kind of art, but like at the same time, I did get pretty good at plaster cast before I went to college. So
I remember
it was already at sculpture.
I remember at least one of your other brohams talking about doing that.
Louis worked at the lab for a long time until it shut down. Yeah.
Matty D asked, but did he make tiaras?
Okay. No. He did inlay some silver initials into a pair of nunchucks for me.
Ooh.
Paul, I mean, you're sharing this publicly, so I'm assuming it's okay. Paul says, I'm going to look less like a hillbilly after tomorrow, so I'm happy. I get my falsies. Hashtag getting old early. Dude, you're already old. We've been telling you this for like a year now. You're an old man. This proves it. You're older than us.
I feel like it's been more than a year. It's only been a year since we've had pandemic nights.
You're right. Going on 2 years.
We've been telling him he's in his 60s ever since there was a lunchbox involved.
I gotta be honest. I don't know. Like, why do we scramble to get news? This could be the show, guys.
This really kind of is the show, but
I mean, maybe not dental talk every week.
The bonus show that you get on Patreon will actually be us covering the news.
Yeah, our mildly neglected bonus show. That's what Grawlix used to be. That's where that's going.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about comic books. It's going to be great. Meanwhile, publicly, you're getting dental talk.
We should just rename the show to instead of Grawlix and Nights, it's like Grawlix, how was your day, dear?
That's fun.
That's fun.
Are crowns the thing that make people freak out when I chew on tinfoil?
No, well, I mean that's fillings. Like a bad filling will really go. I don't know that you would feel that through a crown, like a good crown, anyway.
I was just wondering.
Like old silver fillings, if you were to chew on that, it was like you'd feel that.
Oh. Cool.
Like it would conduct a spark or something. And you were like, oh, I feel that. That's awful.
That would be so cool if you could just like zap yourself in the mouth all the time.
I don't think it's cool. That's why people go, oh, why are you doing that?
This Week in Teeth. That's Paul's suggestion for a title. And Maddie D says, well, that's worth $1 a month.
Mm-hmm.
That's really all it is. $1 a month, folks. That helps us with at least hosting.
Right. Mm-hmm. Go to Grawlix. Go to patreon.com/Grawlix podcast. Become a patron. Help support the show. We've been talking about actually doing, speaking of 1 a month, about doing bonus episodes a month. I know we've mentioned this like months ago. We're serious this time. Melody's little sound was perfect. That's all you need to know. Hey, if you happen to be looking for other ways you can maybe support the show, did you know we're a humble partner?
We are. Mm-hmm.
You ready for some affiliate talk? Yeah, so Humble Bundle, listen, it's honestly, it kind of makes sense for us to have affiliate links for Humble Bundle because there are seriously times when I don't share links to Humble Bundles that I see because I'm like, no, it's because we're an affiliate now, or like we have affiliate links, and I don't want to just seem like a shill. But there's seriously times where I'm like, I kind of want to tell people about this. Right. I should. So I figured, you know what? I'm going to take a little time. Sorry, laughing at comments. I'm going to take a little moment to do some humble pimpage. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they would love it called that way.
Yeah.
Right now, remember comics like we used to talk about?
Mm-hmm.
They have a humble comic bundle. The best year of Boom Studios. It caught my eye because I'm like, that's Boom being like, 2020 suck for everyone else, the best for us.
Right, that is a weird flex. Yeah, it's like Diamond Publishing even like shut down, like Diamond Distributing actually shut down during the pandemic. And what was it? Oh, like the big two stopped creating new comics for a while in 2020.
And Boom's like, boom. You can tell this is not actually like a paid spot because I don't think they'd be happy about it.
No.
Too bad. I'm pimping them anyway. No.
In fact, next month we might not have an affiliate link.
Yeah, well, it's all right.
No, they'd never get rid of us. We've been pimping them since long before we had an affiliate link.
Right. And I use the affiliate link pretty much all the time.
That's the thing. It just makes sense because we would talk about Humble Bundles all the time. I love a deal. In fact, the one I wanted to tell people about isn't even this one. I picked this one because I was like, well, it's comics. It makes sense. Right. But yeah, apparently Boom Studios, well, here it says unpack the best of Boom Studios 2020 comics, but here it says the best year of Boom Studios. There are a lot of #1 issues in this. I'm assuming there are new. So, I mean, that's a lot of indie creators who probably like, or maybe even big 2 creators who are like, I need to find someone that's actually publishing. I don't know that that's the case. I'm just spitballing, whatever. Mm-hmm. But something that I appreciated, I have not read like any of these, so it's a lot of new stuff. And I love the titles of some of these comics. We Only Find Them When They're Dead.
I love that.
Great. What was the other one? Let's see. Strange Skies Over East Berlin sounds pretty interesting to me. I mean, there's just some cool covers.
They always put something really cool way down the way, so you're like, oh, I wasn't going to spend this much, but I can't miss out.
Something is Killing the Children.
That is a great title.
That is an amazing title.
Right?
Like, you kind of have to know. Dude, that's it. When I buy a Humble Bundle, I never... Who just gets like...
That's another great title. Is that a follow-up? We Only Find Them When They're Dead? How is that not a movie title?
It's so good. It's so good. The Sacrifice... We Served the People, The Sacrifice of Darkness, Irredeemable Omnibus. That's by Mark Waid.
Oh, who did some of the best work on the Flash like ever, and also had a great run on Captain America not all that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let's see. Paul says Seven Secrets is really good. Maddie D says On Kindness of Ravens, which is a great title. I didn't even see that in there. On Kindness of Ravens is great.
Mm-hmm.
And then Paul also said, "It's me, I'm killing them." That's a confession.
Oh, man, spoilers, dude.
Anyway, I mean this bundle's only going for 6 days. Even shorter if you're listening.
Oh, it's
to
only
this later.
$1 to unlock Unkindness of Ravens.
Stuff. You're right. You're right.
At least the first one.
I'm intrigued. I believe April 15th or so is when this bundle's up. So if it's interesting to you, you should hit up our affiliate link. That's right. We might get a couple bones for you buying this. Which actually, because it's Humble Bundle, if you buy it and then like you get to choose how much of what you like your donation or whatever they consider it goes where, you get to decide how many bones go to us. Listen, put most of it to the charities. I always do it. I always do.
Also, ACLU is the support charity for this one. And also, what's the other one?
Freedom to Read Foundation.
Okay, but you can also add your own charities. That's maybe one of the cooler features that we probably haven't talked about it. But you can add your own charities to the list. At least you could. I don't know if that's still a feature, but I did, and I appreciate that.
So if you go to grawlixpodcast.com, that's GRAWLIX podcast.com/boom, that'll redirect you to the page with our affiliate link, of course. And because I discovered recently that some people's browsers don't like that. I'm sorry, that segment went kind of long. Some people's browsers don't like redirects, I discovered last week for some reason.
That is an odd discovery. Weird.
Right. So if you try to go there and like Chrome or whatever you're using, it's just like and closes the tab, just go to grawlixpodcast.com and scroll down to the red Humble Bundle. Wow. Humble Bundle banner. It says Humble Partner. Just click that, and then you can find it there. Honestly, they have this, dude, especially since I lost that hard drive. I've mentioned it several times on the show. I took a big hit on that one. One of my hard drives crapped out, and it had all my photo textures and stuff I use for Photoshop.
Oh, they just had a graphics one. Yeah.
It's still going. It's been going for a long time. It's only got 6 days left, though. It's still going, and there's like thousands of overlays and texture images, and I'm like, would be a good jump start to get
podcasters. You guys need to watch some of the Humble Bundles that they put out, because they do some crazy audio packs, voiceover stuff, and I've got stuff that I'll never use just because it was too good to pass up.
Stock music.
Yeah. And you've got a license with each one of those bundles. So
if you look for the one, they do lots of that are geared towards game devs, but keep an eye out on those, even if you're not a game dev, if you're some type of other creator, because that's where they'll put a lot of the sound effects and stock music ones is like for indie games, but you can use it for the license covers pretty much any use. So keep an eye out for those if you're.
I've gotten at least one of those game ones where it was like, I got it for games, but it's like, no, I'm going to use that for everything else.
Right. So, especially if you, all right. Sorry to spend the rest of your time, Maddie D, pimping Humble. He's got to put the kids down. It's Matt. He's the one.
Something is putting the children down.
All right. Oh, by the way, Maddie D, yes, I'm sorry I haven't replied to your email. I was talking to Jesse about just all the messages that I ignore, not intentionally. I'll do my mix on your episode.
Ooh.
Hey, everybody, since we're pimping, you should go to emcpod.net/60s reboot, I think, and keep an eye out there because you'll hear some familiar voices on an upcoming super special quiz bowl of 60s Reboot Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Check it out. It was a lot of fun.
So here's the dilemma. And me and Jesse scrambled. We got to the news a little late, like gathering the news. We scrambled. And there was actually little conversations going in the Google Docs like we joked about recently. We hit an hour, and we really should try to wrap these up in an hour. Do we want to do news? Do we want to skip news? Or do we want to like just hit a couple stories and bounce? I think you're muted. Oh.
Sorry, I've got dual monitor. It takes a while for me to figure out where my cursor actually is.
No worries.
There's several articles in here that are just like, hey, there's a set photo.
Right.
So I say we skip anything that's like that.
Okay. Well, let's kind of tag team these. I'm going to jump in first real quick and just say Warner Media CEO admits company stumbled in announcing 2021 film shifting to HBO Max. So, hey, Godzilla come out, hit theaters, did pretty good. And WB's like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have made everyone in the industry mad at us. So they recently said basically they're just, and I think they could, if they could take it back now with I don't know what their subscriber numbers are or how good that's worked out, but they're basically like 2022, we're going to respect the theatrical release window, the home release window. So basically it's going back to how it was with day and date type streaming.
I don't know if that's a good call either. I mean, pretty hard to put that genie back in the bottle.
Mm.
Oh, Paul, that
Disney?
is another one of our stories.
Will Disney?
I mean, if they do, it's going to look like a CGI blue guy with Will Smith's face on it.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, I mean, okay, Warner Brothers is already striking agreements with theaters. And this is 2022, by the way.
Right.
With theaters to install a 45-day window between theatrical and streaming premieres. It says, this article from IndieWire.com goes on to say, yet the damage is done with Christopher Nolan especially going off on the studio for dumping its slate on HBO Max, quote, the worst streaming service, end quote, as he called it. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Christopher Nolan has a lot of sway. He was kind of like the poster boy for, directors like, get out and support filmmakers. And everybody's like, we don't want to die to watch your weird backwards time travel movie. Listen, Christopher Nolan's great, but he was weirdly upset about all this. But then again, not really, because I guess I get him being upset. It's weird how outspoken he was and kind of Warner Brothers thing. We've talked about this. This is why I put the story down, because we've talked about this a lot. Warner Brothers' decision to 2021, everything's going to streaming, screwed over a whole lot of all the filmmakers because they didn't know, and that means considerably, I'm assuming, less money for them. A lot of them probably have deals about box office back end, percentages and stuff. And if it, I mean, I don't know, pandemic, I don't know what those numbers would have looked like anyway, but I have a feeling it probably cuts a lot of that out, if not.
Right. So they can't do that forever.
Well,
right? Or they have to restructure everything.
Right.
You know what, though? I kind of don't care if you get a few $1 million less, okay? I really don't. So go cry to somebody else about it, because the rest of America is struggling. And if we can save $20 or $40 instead of going to the movies and just sit and watch at home something we already pay for, I'd say that's good for America. So screw you, kind of. That's my opinion about the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this earlier, and I'm like, why is it I'm not anti movie theaters. I enjoy the movie theater experience, but I am kind of like, I'm bummed about the idea of them going back to the old, like, you gotta wait, you gotta go to the theater, or else you gotta wait, because I mean, especially, I don't. It's expensive to go to the theater.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, if I have a choice between doing something at home or going out into the world, I'm going to do something at home. That's just me.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, even Godzilla vs. Kong was like, that hit theaters before, technically. Like, it was out in theaters somewhere before it was streaming.
And that's one I would have went to see in theater. Like, if things were a little more normal, I would have gone.
Well,
but Godzilla vs. Kong, Zack Snyder's blah blah blah, or even Wonder Woman, and this is a unique use case. Given the Grawlix podcast, being able to just watch it at home and then talk about it like the next day or a couple days later on the podcast, and not having to make a $40 to $50, $60 adventure out of it, was amazing.
That was exactly the point I was going to make. We might not make a living off of this podcast, but we still do it regularly, and we've almost always been behind the times. I don't know that we ever won't be, but part of that is we can't afford to go to the movies every single time a movie is released, which also sucks because spoilers, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
So if we wanted to stay up or stay current as much as we possibly can, this would be the way to do it. Stream the movie when it comes out. We wouldn't have to have spoilers. We wouldn't have to pay more than we already pay, and we could still do an episode when you care about that movie. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's another reason that it kind of upsets me. And if they hadn't done it already, it would be a different thing. But it's done. You can't take it back now.
Right.
All it does to me is show me that you're only concerned with your own greed. You know what I mean?
Paul has an interesting hot take on this. I'm not going to read it, but there it is for video watchers now or in the future.
That's exclusive right there.
Yeah, but again, I don't want theaters to die off, and I realize
they won't.
But they can change. They can change their business model to more of the Alamo Drafthouse kind of thing. They can offer more of an environment, because that's what you're really paying for at this point, is the environment. Why would I go see Godzilla versus Kong in the theater? Because the screen's bigger.
Right.
The Quasar Drive-In sent out pictures of like dirt and a concession stand, and I'm freaking out because I'm like, yeah, drive-in. So I'm not worried about theaters necessarily. Even if they were going to disappear, I probably still wouldn't care. Simply because, again, sitting there in the theater is a nice experience, but you can go watch a play, or there's other things that you can do for that kind of experience. Maybe not exactly the same, but and they're not going to die out. They won't, not all of them at least. And I like movies, and I have actors that I love, but I always thought it was ridiculous that people are making $50 million, per movie. Some people, not all. That'd be like Robert Downey Jr. in the midst of the so maybe that's an extreme example, but still millions of dollars a lot of times per movie. And acting is a skill. I appreciate it. You're not worth that much more than any other person, in my opinion. And doing that, and acting like they not necessarily the actors even, but like the industry doesn't necessarily deserve all the money that it gets. And I kind of do want to see it go, knock it down a peg or two.
Bird.
First rule of Fight Club.
Melanie's going to be occupying Hollywood Hashtag Occupy Hollywood.
I mean, I'm here for it. I'm curious, like Warner Brothers is saying, okay, yeah, we'll help out the theater system. Does Disney care? I'm going to go back to that. Disney's doing the same thing. I think they're going to continue to offer Mulan early for $30. They're going to do the same thing with Black Widow. Maybe they go back to the box office system, but in the meantime, this is a way they can make money, and they're going to make money.
Disney was kind of smart in that they're just like, they did it. People were upset, and they're just like,
yeah,
didn't say anything. And Warner Brothers like, all the movies in 2021, woo!
Right. And
Go
then
to
2022. Oh, whoa! No, everything's normal. We're good.
They just made it loud.
Calm down, everybody. Whereas Disney's like, we do what we want.
Yeah,
right.
They always have though. They've been like, oh, you love that movie and you want to find it, but you can't find it anywhere. You're gonna have to wait 20 years till I open my freaking vault, you little plebe. You know what I mean?
It's in the vault. Yep.
It's in the vault. Goofy movie.
You even have what you're like, I've been waiting.
It took a long time for that to DVD, and then where's it been? Is it on Blu-ray? I don't even know.
This is a total aside, but it's gonna be
this whole episode is. That's the episode title. A total aside.
Where Disney Plus, we did a story on it, and I was actually somewhat excited. Disney Plus, they're like, we're gonna have an adult section, not like an adult section, but since they owned Fox's entire catalog of movies, that's a lot of non-family, non-kid movies that Disney now has. So they're gonna have this I don't remember what the name of it was, but you go to the option, you're like, go to Disney Plus, for parents, whatever it was called, and you could watch, normal movies. It'd be like Netflix, where it's not
Disney
just
Plus at night.
right, where it's not just kids movies and Marvel properties and Star Wars. It's not available in the US yet, as far as I know. It's available in other countries, but not the US. I'm like, what? Why not us?
Yeah. But you know what the problem, though, a little bit with the streaming? I'm so tired of being like, hey, who owns this and who owns that? I gotta try an app and figure out where this movie is. I know it's playing on, it's owned by these people, but who owns these people? I'm so tired of that.
You know what I should do? I remember distinctly, and it's gotta be, we've been doing Grawlix podcast long enough that it's got to have been on the Grawlix podcast complaining about cable and being like, why do I have to package all these channels together? Just let me buy just Sci-Fi Channel.
Guaranteed.
Or let me buy
Guaranteed
just AMC,
we talked about this.
Or let me buy just HBO without all the extra. Just give me access to those. Let me pick and choose. And now we have kind of that. And I'm like, we're like, it's too much. But it's not exactly that. Because you still can't, it's still packaged. Because it's like, yeah, I want to watch maybe some, Marvel stuff or The Mandalorian randomly. Okay, fine. That's Disney, but also, I don't know. I want to watch Westworld. Okay, well, that's HBO. But also, this is pretty good. Well, that's over on this thing. And then it gets even dicier when we mentioned recently that we were watching Resident Alien. It's like, well, you can get that on Peacock. Only free for like 3 episodes, by the way. It's a Sci-Fi Channel show, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You can also get on Hulu if you're subscribed to an extra. You not just subscribe to Hulu. You have to be subscribed to whatever weird package that includes Sci-Fi Channel crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know the ironic part about all of this is that a lot of these streaming services wind up being free if you're also like a local cable customer. Where it's like you get a sign in from the cable company that's like, okay, you get Paramount Plus or you get Peacock because you are already a Cox cable customer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there was Netflix, and Netflix scared the crap out of them. And then they're like, people are actually cutting the cord. They're actually moving away from cable for the streaming service, what do we do? And they're like, we make the streaming service cable. And that's what it is. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
People are gonna start like taping their cables back together. The cable cutters. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I don't have enough electrical tape. Does anybody have one of those twisty things? The cap.
Paul has a good point. He says, "Don't you dare suggest show subscriptions. They will do it just to maximize profits." Oh no,
we've already got software subscriptions, so yeah, it's not much of a jump.
Well, I think the difference at the time was TV was good at that point, but it's like HBO was killing it. They've got, these AMC was killing it with these 2 or 3 shows, or I really like this channel because they've got this. That's like 3 channels. Mm-hmm. And my assumption was like, you split them up, $5, $6 each. Sure. That's pretty cheap for a whole bunch of shows I like. But I didn't anticipate an explosion of potentially decent shows. And that is kind of Netflix's fault. It's not their fault. It's a good thing. But like just spread all over to where, you have to collect them all in order to get the ones you want. It's baseball cards of TV.
Yeah.
Or Pokemon, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got electric type, you got horror type, you got
Shudder.
Disney type.
Shudder is super interesting. Shudder's one that I actually want to support, even though I think they're just owned by one of the cable channels or whatever, one of the big companies. But horror specifically. But then, so I had it for a little bit. And I'm like, but I never watched it. They don't really have anything I'm really digging. There's a horror I'm watching elsewhere. So, yeah.
That's where I'm at with Hulu right now. Is like, I don't watch a whole lot on there anymore. But they do release things pretty quickly after they've broadcast. So, like Holly will use it for shows that she's still interested in. And they have some fun documentaries that are like Hulu exclusive. Like there's going to be one about Bigfoot coming up that I'm pretty interested in. So it's like every once in a while they'll just throw something on there where you're like, oh, I can't get rid of it now.
Right. HBO Max was kind of smart on HBO's. I know they go with HBO Max. They went with HBO Max in pretty much name only because it's not HBO. It's Warner Brothers, which owns HBO.
Right.
But I know HBO was worried coming up to the end of Game of Thrones and, Westworld. They always need to have one flagship that draws people. And I wonder if that's, again, the whole entertainment industry, they got blipped. So, but I wonder if it's a relief that they don't have that kind of pressure where they have a whole streaming service. They still have HBO as the cable channel, but
it's
just
almost gone backwards again, hasn't it? Where it's like, oh, we get to be HBO again. All we have to do is have the featured movies of the month, and you'll stick around for those.
Right. Or do some weird stuff. QAnon docs. Let's do it.
Right. Yeah.
We're done with this dragon business. Everybody got upset by the end anyway. I don't know. There's some interesting, man. Melanie always called it Dances with Wolves. That sci-fi show we were talking about a while back.
Raised by Wolves.
Raised by Wolves.
Oh yeah, that's on there.
I feel like that's not going to come back. I'm so worried it's not. But yeah, that was super interesting. And that was a HBO or HBO Max original. So more of that, more of the originals. What I've watched, I've dug.
I feel like we spent 20 minutes on this news.
We did literally spend 20 minutes. I'm looking at it. We spent 20 minutes.
Sweet.
So Jesse, real quick.
Yeah.
I will keep my mouth shut. What stories did you want to cover specifically for sure?
Oh. Honestly, the most interesting one to me is this Jordan Peterson one. Is that a rabbit hole we shouldn't crawl down?
No, go for it. Because honestly, I haven't actually heard a whole... it potentially is a huge rabbit hole, but I haven't really heard too much about it.
Okay, so the super abbreviated version of it is that in the comics right now, the Red Skull essentially has a YouTube, like, what would it be? Like a not talk show, radio talk.
A lot of them call it
podcast.
Like
a podcast, but it's basically, it's a YouTube show.
Kind of.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So a news vlog.
So the Red Skull is a YouTuber now.
Yeah. The Red Skull is a YouTuber right now in the comics. And who is he very much based on? Jordan Peterson.
Interesting.
And Jordan Peterson has feelings about this. He doesn't like being a Nazi that wears a red skull.
Well, I mean, maybe stop being a Nazi. Step one.
I mean, I do feel like that's a red, pun intended, flag for your whole life. Just like, maybe this is a moment where you have an epiphany and you look yourself in the mirror. I'm talking to the man in the mirror. Michael Jackson talked about it in the 80s and the 90s. Maybe Jordan Peterson. You should look in the mirror, see if you're wearing a Red Skull mask, and then stop wearing that when you do your videos.
I mean, no, you make a good point. I'm sure he just feels like, no, it's just, I'm sure he's jumping on the, he's just gonna, is Jordan Peterson going to become just like one of those countless comic book and nerd reviewer YouTube channels that I somehow would stumble across all the time, who'd like blah 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 just hates men, and it's like, oh, never mind. Click. I mean, I kind of feel like that's what he is anyway, but now the comics are in this. No, I'm sure. Yeah, he probably is just like the SJW comic industry, which has been ruined by, what's the word? Diversity hires and blah, 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 blah. So I'm sure he would blame it on that. But yeah, I would think a more self-aware person would be like, he's basically their Hitler, you say. Why would they do that?
So like one of the main things, well, I'll read you this quote and then I'll point out one of the obvious comparisons. So here's one of the quotes from Peterson. People made curious in a negative way about me as a consequence of such smear tactics, who then read something I wrote, almost invariably conclude that the gap between what I am accused with and what I'm actually doing is so absurdly wide that the slanderers end by discrediting themselves. And so the comparison between him and the Red Skull actually uses the 10 rules for life, which is apparent reference to Peterson's best-selling 2018 book, The 12 Rules for Life. So
it's not even like,
I know. So it's like, no, it's so, I mean, they're not pulling any punches, but that's what comic books do. That's what sci-fi does. We've had this argument on the show before. Right. When is Doctor Who at its best through its 50 years? It's 50 plus at this point, but they call attention to stuff. When Sarah Jane joined the Third Doctor, it was like a big deal because she was all for women empowerment, and it was just like a natural sign of the times at that point. She was not going to be Joe Grant. She was not just going to listen to the Third Doctor be sexist.
Right.
And I know that, I don't know who that guy is actually, so I can't really say. But that book name is super generic, and I bet you I could find more than 12 books that have a title almost exactly like that.
Right.
So why don't they just be like, no, this is just our character, and if you see yourself in him, maybe,
Why are you projecting, dude?
Yeah.
Right.
Canceled.
Oh, canceled. They canceled a thing. Oh, well, I'm deeply offended and upset, and there's certainly nothing else. There's certainly nothing else in the world worth getting angry about right now than Mr. Potato Head. I mean, who is this? Jordan Peterson and Red Skull. They should be canceled. Marvel, cancel them. But I'm tired of cancel culture. confusing?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's because it's all.
I'm going to drink this Coca-Cola while we talk about this.
How dare they? How dare they cancel anything? Cancel those Satan shoes.
But are you going to contribute to my campaign come November? I don't want you to talk about anything, but I do want you to give me money.
Mm-hmm. I saw a great thing about those shoes. Somebody had posted, and they were like, it was a Republican that posted this, but they were like, don't buy these Satan shoes. And they were like, or no, and he was making fun of a Democrat that would said, if you don't like them, don't buy the Satan shoes. He's like, this from the same people who boycott Chick-fil-A. And I'm like, that's what a boycott is. How do they not know this? You know what I mean? Anyway, I'm sorry.
Right. I mean,
they do. They just wait until Coca-Cola says something they don't like, and then they're like, "Oh, boycott."
Oh, just don't buy the thing you don't like. This from the person who didn't buy the chicken sandwiches from the place they didn't like. What hypocrisy!
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's
fair.
Kevin Sorbo. Yeah. We've talked about him on the show. He must be great, right?
No.
Is that my cousin? No. Is it?
Yeah.
My distant cousin.
Distant cousin. I mean, to be honest, he's probably tamer than some of your more lusty distant cousins in some respects.
Definitely true. And my other distant cousin, I'm pretty sure can kick his butt. Xena. It's Xena.
Oh yeah, she does all over Twitter and social media sometimes.
Yeah.
How are you?
I mean, that was the main. That was the main.
Hercules.
I don't. No, it's not Xena and Hercules. It's the actress and actor. But yeah, I am distantly related to both of them on different sides of my family, which is weird.
They're the same. They are their characters. Okay. Yeah, that didn't get political.
No.
Well, we knew it was. I mean, it's political by nature, but
yeah,
it did go a little further down the rabbit hole than I thought. But
you could tell that
I know better.
You could. I was like, I'll keep
of
my
all
mouth
the
shut.
things on our
I'll
list,
keep my mouth shut.
Everything on the list. What's the most dangerous one? All right,
real quick, just because this, I'm sorry. I have a weird fascination apparently with streaming and listen, it's an entertainment industry. Look what we're doing. So hey, Sony and Netflix ink first pay streaming licensing deal. So basically, they inked a deal. Sony Pictures and Netflix worked out a deal. I think they have kind of something going on now anyway, but they worked out a deal that basically says after theatrical run window, of course, and whatever home release window, of course, they will give Netflix the first opportunity to like get the streaming deal on all the movies they release in like 2022 or something like that. Mm-hmm. Or it's a multi-year deal. So basically, they'll be like, all right, it's time to, license this out, make some money from the streaming industries. Who wants it usually? In this case, they're like, Netflix. They have to be like, Netflix, do you want this? Mm-hmm. And then if Netflix is like, yay or nay, then they can move on. But
this is why we don't have any Spider-Man movies on Disney Plus.
Right. Yes, this is interesting because that does include with tentpoles such as Morbius. I realize they probably put tentpole money into it.
Jared Leto. Not gonna be they led with the Jared Leto movie.
Right. Uncharted, which I know that's a video game, so people there's expectations for that. The Craw Dogs Sing, I don't know what that is, and Bullet Train, whatever. But it does also include, the sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and future Venom and Spider-Man sequels. So Netflix would potentially get those in terms of the streaming services before anyone else.
That's cute. Keep Netflix alive.
Oh, Paul says I was promised Batman. Listen, you can't. You try to stop a speeding train that's off the trails, off the tracks.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be done. You ain't Superman.
Spider-Man.
Or Spider-Man. And even Spider-Man.
You're gonna have to take your mask off and use both arms.
A bunch of New Yorkers are gonna have to carry you through the aisles.
I mean, should we just quickly address that?
Yeah,
I mean, basically, it's Long Halloween, and we're excited about it.
Yeah, there is. It's. I mean, honestly, it's the first. It's definitely the first DC animated feature I've been excited for at all
In a while, yeah.
Since Killing Joke.
Yeah.
And the Killing Joke, the joke is that it killed my interest in DC animated films. The Long Halloween's a really good Batman story, and they're splitting it into two, kind of like they did Batman Returns. So like it's gonna be kind of an epic. Trailer looks good. What was the story? Was the story basically just like, hey, here's a thing. Animated film trailer, DC film trailer kicks off festive murder spree in Gotham. Yeah, Long Halloween was one of the when I like really jumped. I'm super moose, he says. When I really jumped hard into reading Batman like graphic novels, just consuming as much Batman comic stuff as I could. Long Halloween was on all the like essential reading lists, and so that's one of the ones I read kind of early on, and yeah, it's good.
That was what you made. That was like the first Batman thing you made me read to get me to start reading Batman. Yeah, actually, it was that, and then The Killing Joke. Right. But yeah, so good job, baby.
And David Malachian is going to kill it as the Calendar Man. Watch for his level of crazy. Oh, interesting. Okay.
I'm excited for Jensen Ackles to finally put his stamp on Batman. I know he's wanted that for a long time, and now he is Batman. I also liked it because it's a. I mean, as far as Two-Face stories go, it's a really good one. So.
And I feel like, and maybe this is why it's appealing and why I thought to like, hey, Melanie, read this. This might get you into some Batman. It's kind of a more grounded Batman story. The Killing Joke is as well, but like, I mentioned Dark Knight Returns. That's kind of like, it goes out there. It gets out there. You got crazy Superman and all this. But it's if I recall correctly, I'm sure it's a Batman comic. I'm sure it gets weird, but it's very much just kind of a crime story.
Yeah.
Murder, serial killer and crime story, mafia. Like it's,
involves Commissioner Gordon pretty heavily, if I remember correctly.
Right. That's got some of the great
huge bit there.
Yeah. Is that some of the stuff with the younger him, or am I thinking something else? I might be thinking year one. Yeah,
it's
been
a minute, but I do remember it having a pretty strong tie to Commissioner Gordon.
Right. It's been a long time since I read it. Paul says it's grounded and it really speaks to Batman at its core, just crime and Gotham. Essentially, that's all you need. Crime and Gotham. You can't have one without the other.
Where is he? Where's Harvey?
Okay. Okay. No, God, we cannot get into this.
Save it for next time.
Okay. Paul, you lucked out. Everyone thought it was dead. Everyone thought it was gone, including me. And then I seen a couple stories where I was almost like, but nope, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
There is some decent that stories.
Right. Hashtag wider watch. Snotch. Wider hashtag. Ooh, that sounds dirty.
Wider watch. Uh-oh. That sounds like some Jordan Peterson nonsense. That's still nothing.
Sorry. Yeah, you got me on that one. That was good. Okay, yeah,
restore
that was
the watch.
Hey, Melanie.
Yeah.
Anything we should be? No, that's definitely not what I said, Paul. Sorry. Could get a fight in the. Definitely not saying that one. Anything we should be amazed about?
Yeah, I'll go real quick. And in fact, I can probably just read the headline and that'll be good. Scientists connect human brain to computer wirelessly for the first time not entirely true. They've done it before, but now it's reached the same efficiency level as wired. So yeah, now people that are paralyzed can, usually it's still like typing or picking things out wirelessly, which is really handy for care purposes, because having to move someone around that can't move themselves is very difficult. With the more tubes and wires you have connected to them, the more difficult it is. So being able to do that gives them a lot more freedom to move around, move around or be moved around, however you want to look at it. And gives them the ability to do things from a farther distance. Like if they could go outside and still think of what they wanted to type, because usually it's a keyboard that they would think about touching or whatever, and it would work like that. Right. Well, now they can go outside and do that, and the person inside could hear what they're saying. If they're like, okay, I'm ready to come in, something like that. And there's of course tons and tons of applications that they
brain can text.
Yeah, they've been able to brain text, but now they can do it wirelessly.
So if this were a Godzilla versus Kong movie, this would be more advanced than putting a bunch of wires into a skull.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is beyond Mechagodzilla.
Yeah, this is putting a remote in your skull, kind of, and then letting you go outside or whatever.
It doesn't sound as glamorous as I thought, but okay.
It does involve an implant,
right?
But still, I think even before they might have had to have an implant to have this technology work, where your brain is directly interfacing with the computer. That in itself is freaking amazing. Making it wireless is just a next step of the amazement,
It's interesting.
That is pretty crazy. It sounds like a John Scalzi sci-fi novel.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as they don't have to do implants, then I'm both intrigued but also worried.
Mm-hmm.
They're just gonna be able. They're not even gonna have to do this, but it's gonna be point a dish at somebody's head, and then they'll just get like a stream of conscious text messages out of it. I don't like that. But then again, I'm assuming they kind of have to train themselves. Yeah. Like it's not just like gonna read what you're thinking. You have to like focus on S. Type that S.
Yeah.
And then it reads like, okay, well, when you think that, your brain sparks over here or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, and they do it for that, and they also do it. And these, I suppose, aren't wireless, but like when now they have like the robotic arms and things for people who that are amputees. It's the same thing there, where they have to think about closing their hand, and then they'll they train the program to understand that that's what they want to do, and then it'll send that message to the arm,
right. Yeah. Similar. It'll like and then it'll kind of basically read like the impulses or sometimes the muscle twitches up in where it's attached. Exactly. I seen a cool YouTube video once where a guy who had that deal, he was missing missing his hand and stuff, and normally he had a fake hand that worked that way to where he could do, it wasn't like super dexterous, but some movements, very intentional, specific movements. And he had made this attachment that kind of like used an old broken one that he had, fixed it up with basically a MIDI controller so he could run it into a synth and then play like, certain sounds or affect certain parameters on the synth with his robot cyborg arm. He was a synth man, and it was amazing.
Wow.
But even that, it's still exactly the same thing. Like there's certain parameters.
Like his power glove was his real hand.
Right.
Probably worked better than the actual power glove too. So.
Oh, for sure. That was just
that thing's a piece of crap.
Yeah.
It was like a whip and nay of video games.
Man, they should have brought it back when that song was big.
They really should have.
That's a market
made a game
Nintendo,
out of
man.
that. Like a whip.
Well, just think in the future, if this gets big, you won't even need the glove. You could just think of doing it, and then your game character could do it.
It's a power.
Oh man, they're gonna own us in video games eventually.
Oh yeah.
Of course, they'll have things wired into their brain, but
Right.
Fortnite Victory Royale, boom.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, why would it be? I don't want to get stuck in Fortnite.
I don't know that game will still exist, but
It'll be season
if it does,
300 XT.
Yeah.
If people are still playing like
10 kills on the board right now, come on.
People are still doing tournaments for like Donkey Kong. I'm sure Fortnite will still be here when we die, you know?
That's true.
But yeah, Skyrim has got some serious staying power, you know.
Oh man, don't you even mention it. I've been thinking about getting back into it. Dude, mods. Fortnite, they got mods. If they don't, they need to open it up. They need to let people mod it, make it as easy, and that game will last for eternity. And then promise a sequel that never comes.
Yeah.
And then get bought out by Microsoft.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway. I've been playing.
Well, thanks for mail-splaining that. Whoa. Well, that was some weird deja vu.
Where did you go just now?
I don't know. Whew. Felt weird, though. Let's move on.
Paul, I don't know that the Twitch streams, I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe. I was like, maybe I'll record them. God, it's so time consuming though, uploading videos. Maybe. We'll see. Yeah, probably. I'll put them out somehow if I do or not. I just kind of been enjoying losing days to games that that nobody knows about.
They're just for me.
Anyway, I do miss it. It's a good world. So, anything else? Jess, you got anything coming up you're excited about? Nope.
Yeah. Nothing I can think of. No.
When's Mortal Kombat? I've noticed YouTubers ramping up talking about old Mortal Kombat movies. I'm like, that means they're trying to get their Mortal Kombat SEO in the algorithm before the big movie releases. When's it coming? It's also an interesting thing is like it's like, when's that movie coming out? It's got to be soon. Everyone's talking about old Mortal Kombat. Like you can kind of tell which movies are coming because people trying to get on that wave.
Yeah.
All right. It's kind of like titling your episode. The beginning of your title of your episode is Godzilla vs. Kong, and only one of the 3 people seen it. Why would you do such a thing?
Sorry.
Don't be. All right. Yeah. Hey, I got nothing else. So thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for watching. Future podcast feed, people. Hi. Thanks.
Hi.
Go to grawlixpodcast.com. It's GRAWLIX podcast.com. But we could definitely never change that because I don't know if I can learn a new URL. And check us out. And we stream every week, Thursday, 8 p.m. Central Time. Listen, if you want to wait till 8:30,
it's probably safe.
I'm not going to say we stream at 8:30 because then we'll be on at 9. I'm just saying. If you want to wait till 8:30, you probably won't be missing much yet. Thursday, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. Find us there. We're easy to find. So, I guess that's it.
That's it.
What's Paul talking about in the comments?
I don't know. That would be easier to spell, but whatever.
Yes, that would be much easier to spell. I feel like if you put that in your browser, though, your browser window might just shut.
Yeah, I mean, like, just send you a 404. 404.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
I got to click a button again.